Hey, everybody, this is Barry Mankin here with the Holistic Home Health Podcast here in Nashville, Tennessee. And we're going to do our second series here with Dr. Paul Hodgson. Welcome again.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming all the way back. We're excited to just go over some of the details. We had a wonderful first interview where we talked about some of the high-level methods that he uses at his office as it relates to patient relationship and getting people out of fight or flight, things of that nature. But we're going to get in a little weeds a little bit. Cool. And we're going to get a little bit hippie. And, just hang on. It's going to be okay. So there's plenty of science to back everything up. So we'll talk about all those things and I think have a really, really good time. So why don't we just start with a process and talk about, when somebody comes into your office, what does that look like? How does that relate to, the things that we do? If you're getting like little flags about environmental concerns, what does that look like for somebody onboarding?
Yeah. So again, with that, starting with that assumption that the patient is designed to get healthy and the body's designed to heal. If whatever we find doesn't heal fairly rapidly, or if I have to fix the same things multiple times in a row, we start to think, well, we're missing root cause. So then we got to think backwards. Well, what could be causing this? Something that we try to check every patient, every visit is called the allergy point. Let's probably call it a meridian access point. And it's one of the electrical centers of the body, let's say. And if that is active, or there's some other allergy-related points, let's say, things that are kind of connected to that, if those have problems repeatedly, then we got to figure out what's tripping that allergy circuit. I kind of think about myself as like a mechanic meets an electrician for the body. So
okay, yep.
So we might start asking the patient questions. Have you ever had mold exposure? A lot of patients know they have. Oh yeah, I lived in a moldy place.
Right.
Do you still live in a moldy place? Well, we painted over it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do. So
yeah.
That's maybe one of the first places we might start. I don't like to go out to a patient's house. I'm pretty expensive to do that, and also I don't really know what I'm doing. I can ask their body questions in the presence of an environmental stressor and kind of tell them, yeah, that's probably not so good for you. But that's kind of where we need somebody like you who can go out and assess the environment that they're living in. Yep. That's not really what my business. We're just not equipped to serve people like that. So. So then we would usually recommend, hey, you gotta do some things. We gotta measure, the quality of the air. I always want to know what people are drinking as far as their water. That is one of the hugest inputs we have. Air is probably number one, water number two.
Correct. So in Tennessee, there's a lot of brown water too. So
yeah, so
it's usually associated with whiskey.
Exactly. People are like, why would you drink water when you got perfectly
water in there, right?
Bourbon, yeah. 60% water.
Yeah. Came from the mountains. It's got to be good.
So, so water is a huge one, and water has such a huge spectrum of, what we can do with it and what we need to check for. Most people think, I just need to filter it. I have a fridge filter, or I have a little one that I screw on the tap to drink out of, or maybe an under the sink unit. And those are all definitely better than not having them. But many people could benefit from a lot further upgrades of their water. Our body is mostly water. Water has so many different phases it can live in, or kind of different structural elements that it can take within our body, and it can bring with it a whole host of problems, or it can be purifying and electrifying and energy giving, life giving. So oftentimes if we're dealing with a patient who isn't getting better, we might be dealing with a power problem. And So to me, that's mitochondrial dysfunction. And mitochondria are complicated. We have a mitochondrial checklist, and I don't generally have enough time to teach patients about this is like fairly complicated cellular biology and physics, and I don't understand it at the level that I probably need to teach it at that kind of level. So
it's a big buzzword right now with all these biohackers.
Yeah, I understand a fair amount. Kind of like the sacro-occipital technique. I've been trying to learn about mitochondria for over 20 years now.
Yeah, right.
And I've read so many papers, and I've tried to dig into some of the physics at times, and the electricity and the biochemistry, and but it's complicated. So, but that's a high suspect of early aging and of pretty much every chronic illness is going to have mitochondrial dysfunction as a piece of it. So, because if the body's designed to heal itself and it has enough power, it will do so fairly rapidly.
Right.
So,
interesting.
Yeah. So water ties into the mitochondrial piece. Your environmental health ties into the mitochondria, because many of the reasons why these environmental toxins are disruptive and harmful is because they attack or disrupt mitochondrial function. So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I can work on the mitochondria from the technology. I mean, you've seen all the technology we have in the office that's geared towards mitochondria. But again, if the reason the mitochondria is not working good is because of something they're breathing in for 8 hours while they're sleeping, and then, the entire day on the weekends when they're inside at home in the winter, like, we've just got to address that, or they're going to continue to pay us a lot of money in the practice for mitochondrial treatments that make them feel better, but
they're temporary.
Yeah, they aren't. That we haven't taken away the problem that's causing the mitochondrial dysfunction.
And then we get on our side, the chronic inflammatory response whenever you have those triggers in the house.
Yeah,
and depending on their sensitivities and where they're at and their health journey and all that. But if they constantly get bombarded and they constantly are inflamed, that disrupts your whole process.
Yeah, and then kind of on your guys' end, we serve the same people, right? And these people are suffering, a lot of them, and we want to help them, and we want to make them happy. We want them to. My job is basically to make the patient stop complaining.
Right. Yes, you're right.
And to satisfy myself and say and you're also looking very good on the things that I can tell.
Sure.
Some patients just want to make sure that they're being proactive and being healthy, but for the most part, they come in with complaints and they want those gone.
Yeah.
And then same thing with you. I think it's mold, or I think it's EMFs, or I just do not feel good.
Yeah.
And it's your job to figure it out. And then you do find a problem, and then you do an intervention, and then you go back and you measure that the problem is notably better, but the patient's not feeling better. Now we've got decisions to make. Maybe that wasn't the cause of it. Maybe you just need to go longer, and give your body time. Or maybe, you're still really sensitive to mold. So even this lower amount is, we've either got to lower it or we've got to figure out how to turn your sensitivity down.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where that fight or flight thing comes into play too. And to me, that is the biggest anomaly in what we do with these people, the people that are in the middle. There's an expectation, I think, a lot of times, at least in my industry, is like, well, I did this, and obviously you didn't get it all, or you didn't. We didn't go as far as I could have, and I'm like, well, we can go as far as you want. Like, I can tell you whatever you want to know behind these walls, outside of like ripping them all open and then cleaning all the wood and then starting over, which sometimes has to happen.
Yeah.
But that's our worst case scenario.
Isn't that in the Bible somewhere?
It is.
If there's mold in a structure, you should burn it down.
Burn that thing down, right? So check with your insurance company first. But yeah, exactly. And, just like the plague thing, too. It's like, you guys are going to hang out over there.
Yeah.
But the idea is that I think there's so much confusion in the people that are suffering. By the time they get to us, they're exhausted.
Yeah.
Especially if they've gone through a bad process and wasted money and maybe did a couple of things that weren't bad, but they didn't get comprehensive
Most of these
care.
people have also been dismissed by multiple medical providers at this time. Dismissed, or the provider's not interested in taking the time or making the referral to someone who will take the time.
That's that ping pong ball analogy I was talking about on the last episode.
Yeah.
They get volleyed back and forth, and unless you're targeted and you care, and they're willing to go through a process,
Right.
in some cases,
Yeah.
I would say if we set that expectation well on the front end to say, hey, this is going to be a little bit of a journey, depending on how far you want to go. But if you want to get healthy, like there's always a route. We just have to go through a process to do that. And as long as we set that expectation on the front end, and the industry, however, on both sides, I think, sell them a bill of goods and let's get our money as quick as we can and then get them out the door.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
So if somebody has your philosophy with, say somebody has some contaminant exposure from either past that they're holding on to, body keeps a score, or it's ongoing, and maybe the overall toxic load in the house isn't down yet, or there's still sources related to activity that are maybe hidden, or their ducts haven't been done yet, or whatever the case is, or their carpet. And so if you suspect that, and we've done our job, and now we're saying, okay, you got a checklist. Now they're volleying back to you, and okay, how do you clean them up?
I used to really go after this chemically. So we would do some pretty advanced detoxification things with supplements and foods and dietary changes and things like that.
Right.
Fasting is a decent
Not all
way,
bad.
saunas. But the goal was to get it out of the cells, kind of aggressively get it out of the cells and out of the body. It's not fun taking patients through detoxification, especially sick patients. They're already not doing great. And then there's things called Herxheimer reactions, and there's you can overdo it. You can get big time skin reactions, brain reactions, neurological reactions, mood changes. But basically the toxins live in the cells is the idea, or they're stuck in the cells, and we can do things to make it come out of the cell or pull it out of the cell. But then, so that's phase 1 detoxification. And then we've got to get it out of the body, phase 2. And if you don't balance that just right, that's the art of doing that kind of work. And some people are really good at it, but it is a rough process, even if you're really good at it, and have an artful, skilled person doing it. Because you have to go fast enough. Generally, patients don't want to detoxify for the next 2 years.
Right.
So you have to go
Not
fast
going through
enough
that again.
that you can get them, the results, and then you have to go slow enough that you don't have them have a lot of these adverse reactions. So it is artful. And
I think I think that's what most people that are at least have been engaged with this level of, or this type of care, that's what they're most familiar with.
Yeah, I think that's probably, let's say, the industry standard. It kind of makes sense to our Western minds, our chemistry brains. So I don't do it that way anymore. I would say we get way better results and way faster and with little to no side effects now. So
do tell.
Yeah. So the biggest tool that we use for that is homeopathy. And homeopathy is it's a verified law of pharmacology. So it's something that all pharmacists have to learn how to produce homeopathic remedies, how to make them, the theories behind why they work. But they don't work for the same reasons that traditional medications or supplements or those things work. It's a different system. We could call it frequency medicine. So because they're mostly chemically inert. So they have how they make homeopathy is we take something poisonous, something noxious, something with a vibration or a frequency that the body doesn't like, and we dilute it. And then we take the dilution and we dilute it, 10 parts water, 1 part poison, and then we dilute the dilution, and we dilute the diluted dilution, and then we just keep diluting it. The more you dilute it, the fewer molecules of the original material are in there, to where we're getting parts per million, parts per billion, where there's not enough to do anything chemically. It's just a contaminant at this point, chemically, but the vibration of the thing is turned up with each dilution. So it has a frequency or vibration that the body can sense, that the body can feel, and that the body can make decisions based on. So
this is the fascinating part to me. Like, this is the thing that you do that I don't see anybody. I mean, other people that I've talked to that like is into homeopathy, they don't understand it. They're just like, if I spray this magic potion on you, it's supposed to make you better. Then how do you feel? That's a whole different thing than what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, and they've done a lot of double-blinded, placebo-controlled homeopathic, and it always blows me away how well it works in those things. But some of the coolest ones are done with animal studies, so the animal can't make it up, and they're chemically measuring. They'll give 2 groups of rats lead poisoning, and then they'll give homeopathy for lead to one group, and the other group just gets treated like normal rats. And the control group. The intervention group with the homeopathy will start dumping lead out of their fur, saliva, urine, feces. It just starts coming out of the body like crazy, and they detoxify much faster.
Fantastic.
So
wow,
we know it works. We've got plenty of studies that show that it does detoxify really rapidly. And that's why we think it works, is because it can't chemically work according to our understanding of the laws of chemistry. And
that's traditional medicine. Traditional medicine is that whole pharmaceutical thing to say, hey, we've got the fix in this magic.
It's got to be a frequency.
Yeah.
And homeopathy is I did not want to get involved with homeopathy. I was like, I'm already weird enough. I'm doing so like, let's call it cutting edge, or we're just pushing the envelope in a lot of different ways from what everyone else is doing. And on the bell-shaped curve, we're like way out here.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't need to add one more thing, homeopathy, that I don't understand, and that I never had a huge experience with it. But there are people that have had life-changing experiences where it saved their life or helped them through stuff. So, but the NET system, it's a important pillar of that. So I was doing everything in the NET system besides the homeopathy, and just kind of kept getting to these patients where it's like the algorithm says, and now you give homeopathy, and I wouldn't give those patients homeopathy, and those would be the ones that would keep coming back, like, we got to fix you again.
Interesting.
And then when we followed it up with the homeopathy that's in the algorithm, then they don't come back.
Wow.
Homeopathy is generally a piece of helping these people get better, but there's also sometimes just fixing the body's circuits regarding detoxification. So systems we'd want to check is the kidneys, the liver, the gut does a lot of detoxifying for us.
And it'll tell you. I mean, basically, your process and the way you check, you've got different ways to check those things without having a scan to picture it. You can let the body tell you.
Yeah, I really like muscle testing, muscle testing. If you're watching someone do it, it looks a little woo. But if you've experienced it from an experienced muscle tester who's really good at what they do, you can feel the physiology change when we find what we're looking for in the body. A firm muscle becomes spongy weak, or spongy weak muscle goes firm, and that is giving us information. And it has to do a lot with positives and negatives in the body and the flow of energy. So the muscle testing doesn't work so good on a corpse, because a corpse has no positives and negatives. It's now got no charge. There's no life force. There's no energy flowing through a corpse.
Right.
So... and then oftentimes we'll want to back that up with other systems. Blood work, in our Western world, we kind of have put blood work as the supreme place where we're going to get our information from.
Right.
And blood work, I love blood work. It's awesome. It's expensive sometimes. Some of these tests are very expensive, and it's a snapshot. The muscle test is a snapshot too, but I can take a snapshot, before an intervention, give you some homeopathy, take another snapshot, and the body's happy. And then I'm relatively sure that the patient's going to be happy when they take that home and use it. So we can guess and just give you something that should work, and that's what most of the practice of medicine is like, you have a biomarker that we're going to try to change. We suspect it's this process. I want you to take this thing at this dose for this period of time, and then we'll recheck, or you'll report that the symptom went away. Those are kind of our two things. We'll either recheck or you'll just stop complaining.
Yeah. Well, and I love how when you made the analogy with the rats, there's no placebo on them, right?
No.
So when they could measure what was coming out of it, and we talked about the body's designed to heal itself. Here's the fascinating part: is that I am a firm believer that frequency and vibration, which I've said many times, is the source of everything. You put a little matter with that, and you make anything, right? Whether
Absolutely.
it's a shape, whether it's a color, whether whatever.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that there's a lot of healing that is not tapped into, and I think it's becoming more popular. And especially in a music town, it's like, hello, it's music, man. Right. So, come on. But taking that concept and then applying that into a delivery method, if you will, how that is injected into that. And if we're made of water, and we can inject that into the water. So if we're holding on to those frequencies and vibrations that can make us, or maybe bad frequency, we'll call it distortion, or for lack of a better way of saying that. And then if we can regulate that to say, okay, optimal health is roughly this frequency or this pattern of frequencies, and be able to apply that to let the body say, okay, you're back to chi, or whatever you want to call it. Enough so much so that anything that is not associated with that, it can purge.
Right.
And again, the body knows how to heal itself. If you give it the tool to do, who's to say that frequencies can't be the tool?
Right.
And that's, to me, is delivering it through water is a fantastic
I agree. Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand that when they think, oh, what's a spray bottle supposed to do? It looks like a breath medicine thing.
Yeah.
No, there's frequencies in there.
When something, I don't think we've done this with you, is our QI5, our biofeedback machine, right?
Okay. All right. I don't think we've done that.
The biofeedback machine is literally a frequency machine. It was developed by Dr. Bridwell, but he did a lot of this frequency medicine and muscle testing. But what he was running into is like, there's so many different things to check,
Right?
And I'm expensive, and patients are only going to give me so many times to check, and I can't get through my whole work list of things I want to work on with the patient. So
we're dealing in percentages.
But we could with frequencies, if we could just work with the frequencies, and we could check almost 1,000 things in every visit. So with something we couldn't do manually prior to this technology. So,
right.
So he took Rife's work with Rife frequencies and got those, did a lot of additional work in adding other things that Rife didn't have the time to get to studying, and put together about 10,000 different frequencies, and more have been added since then. So this machine will check you for a ton of environmental stuff, vaccines, viruses, bacteria, allergies to foods, all different kinds of things.
Wow.
And it sounds crazy, but we got it because it helped our son get over a gluten allergy that was giving him full body eczema when he was nursing with when he was nursing with my wife. So,
well, sign me up.
Right, we'll show it to you.
I'm going to do it.
Now, I think the machine that you told me about that you're using with your water, that you're putting your frequencies in, is probably comparable technology, or it's kind of same idea.
Yeah.
Ours may just have more preloaded frequencies in it than that,
Yeah.
But kind of same idea. You're already probably using a similar idea or concept with.
And then there's
with what you're
dosage
doing.
too, right? And how it holds on to it, for how long it can hold
Right.
on to it,
So, and with that machine, we can put the frequencies in through light,
Right.
or through magnetism. We put it in a metal plate that the patient wears next to their skin.
Interesting. Okay.
Or we put it into it's not a true homeopathic remedy, but it's the same idea of why we think a homeopathic. We put the frequencies into a water-based liquid. So,
Guys, this is fascinating stuff. To me, again, if we can quantify things like frequency, and again, we're made of water, right? The frequency, we all know that, music is healing. It's a universal language. Why can't it be universal healing, right? So having the science, and I know that science is still developing, but having the data to see that all the white paper studies are out there, your experiences through your office, I've had some experiences with that are pretty incredible. So I would encourage you to, do your research, look into that. I know it sounds, for some people, it's a little bit unconventional, but I mean, music's real.
it's a lot unconventional, but the convention isn't working. So,
Well, I mean, COVID proved that.
that's kind of what we need is unconventional.
The medical industry has failed us many
Yeah.
times for many reasons in many ways. So I'm thinking outside the box, and especially if we have things that work and we can prove that they work, then let's see how far that can go.
Cool.
That's my philosophy.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, sign me up for that one. Let's talk about, I know we've got a lot we can go over, but give me the highlight of, and we're going to kind of jump ship here and talk about just overarching principles with like latitude and longitude, seasonal eating, things of that nature, and how, because where we come from, if somebody hires somebody from Colorado to come to Nashville, Tennessee, to come and test their house and their air quality and all of those things, like they have no idea about our climate. They have no idea about our seasons,
our weather patterns,
different types of molds. There are some that are similar, but how they behave, how the moisture behaves through a wall, pressurization, all that comes into play. What does that look like on your end, and how do you encourage people to take advantage of that awareness?
Yeah, well, it sounds kind of in vogue to eat local and to know your farmer and that kind of thing, but there's tremendous health benefits to that. So I would say that's much more important than eating organic, is you need to eat at your latitude. So we want to eat foods that are grown at the same latitude because our food communicates chemically things about the environment to us. So you don't see a lot of pineapple trees growing in New England, right? So, but you do see those down, in the tropics and in Florida and Hawaii and whatever. So when you're in those places, the food is communicating to you a lot of times through the carbohydrate content, but through other things that we probably don't even understand, things about your environment, and those communications are important because your body will then adapt to meet that environment. So we don't want to, we don't want to have, a body that's ready for equatorial sun in New England. We want a body that's ready for New England sun in New England.
And we talked about this too, which was fascinating. This is where it gets into the mitochondria again, right?
Yes.
Explain that relationship.
Well, so there's a ton of research on low carbohydrate diets, ketogenic diets, and most of them are going to show a lot of health benefits, specifically like to the mitochondria, if they're looking at those things or measuring those things. With the lower carb you go, the better you're going to do. There was a study I read years back, though, that kind of it ducked that. It was not consistent with that.
Okay.
There was a group of people that lived on an island. They were super low income. They were 80% carbohydrate diet, and most of them were smokers. And they were living into their 80s just fine with with not much problems. Sign me up, right?
Yeah.
But they lived very near the equator, you know.
Sing like Tom Waits, but yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on there is the sun is doing the majority of the work that we do with food and diet in places where we're further away from that intense sun. So
it's kind of making up. It's kind of like a training wheel, if you will. The latitude changes, what benefits you can get.
And if we look at what do the Alaskans and the Inuit eat and that kind of thing, there's almost zero carbohydrate in that diet. It's very high marine and animal based. They're getting tons of omega-3s. If you look at the omega-3 content of fish, equatorial fish have lower omega-3s. If you want to get those good omega-3s, you got to get the fish that are the cold water fish from up north, or way down south at the two ends. So there's a reason for that. Nature and biology did that because you need more omega-3 content to power your cells' engines. The omega-3s is a huge piece of it. You don't need as much when the power of the sun is right there for you. So,
see, this is cool.
Right.
I mean, this and how that works scientifically with the mitochondria, you were explaining to me how it shrinks.
Right. So the size of the mitochondria is, so when we're dealing with things that are specific to a patient and non-specific. So any patient that I can make have a better mitochondria is going to be an easier patient for me to heal.
Right.
And again, I don't heal the patient, but
Yeah.
But I get paid for them to say that I did. So,
bat them to the middle a little bit.
Yeah. So essentially, the tighter a mitochondria can be, the easier it is for the little chemical reactions to happen as they're being passed back and forth across the membranes in the Krebs cycle, in the electron transport chain. These are all happening right there at the membrane of the mitochondria, that little wiggly line that you might notice that if you see it in a cell biology textbook or something. There's a few things. So generally, we basically want to have a tighter engine, a smaller engine. That's a drastically more efficient engine. The bigger it gets, the more difficult it is to produce energy. So kind of like a supernova. A supernova is a huge star with very low energy. We want that hot, tiny little star that produces nuclear reactions down at our cellular level.
You were talking about the distance, making it faster for that revolution to go in and out of that cell, and that speed allows it to have the energy quicker.
So, and there's things that people are doing, biohacking wise, and they don't maybe know that this is what's happening, but this is why those things work.
Like the cold plunges we talked about, right?
Cold plunging shrinks the cell, shrinks the mitochondria. So just cold in general. Red light, and possibly methylene blue. But methylene blue kind of maybe works slightly differently. I'll have to kind of look that up. But it definitely affects the mitochondria, cytochrome C oxidase. But I'm not positive if it actually shrinks the mitochondria.
Gotcha. See, to me, that's the part that people don't understand about how that works and why, and how important that it is. We don't think about latitudinal eating and how important it is that the sun transfers over and actually takes up some of that energy. You're really big on understanding the energy and the power sources of the body and where to gain it from and how to use it.
Yeah.
The way that you can, I guess, dissect all that is, to me, that's where people can really, really dig into the weeds here and understand the principles of creating those habits.
Right. I mean, if a patient did nothing or a client did nothing but study how to make your mitochondria work better, they're going to drastically improve their life, and they're going to change their lifestyle to support that healing process, that healthy living.
That's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's a lifelong pursuit because those things are complicated.
Well, and from our perspective, I mean, with me dealing with the house, what's happened in the past 50 years or 60 years? We introduced air conditioning. right? So
Yeah.
now the temperature swings that we used to have that
Yes.
worked with everything
Yeah.
is now we're spoiled and we're sicker. So now it's not just what's happening from being stuck in a contaminant standpoint because we're chasing the money,
Yeah.
and we're all the food and the water issues that go with that when I'm talking about biofilm and that sort of thing. But we don't get the swings that we need in those seasons
Right.
to have those effects internally.
Well, yeah, most of us are cold averse. We don't.
let's
we
get in
don't,
there.
Yeah, let's hurry
I
and
want
get inside
72
the warm.
to 76
Yeah,
degrees.
go stand by the fire. Let's stay like in the wintertime. It gets pretty cold here in Nashville in the winter, but most of us aren't going out in it,
Yeah.
And that going out in it, that was like the sun also gets pretty weak in the wintertime here. It's we go without sun for a few months, and nature gives us the cold to deal with the lack of sun.
Well, we do the same with the heat.
Yeah.
We hop inside and
But now if you really got to get healthy fast with technology, we can now stack those things. You didn't used to be able to have a cold plunge in summertime.
right.
But now we can get the benefit of intense summer sunlight, and you can actually go back and forth and get cold and then get sun. And the sun on a cold mitochondria actually multiplies. So we get this kind of 1 + 1 = 11 effect. It starts to get exponentially more powerful.
Everything goes to 11.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me to think of it. Again, everything's got a vantage point where you look at things through, or your filters.
Right.
This is a whole different filter for people to look at their house through, or look at their health through, their eating, etc. To think of it just from a mitochondrial perspective and say, what are some benefits, some biohacks?
Right. And we haven't even talked EMFs yet.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, red light comes into that other part of it as well. But once we get over to the EMF side, I always say that's fertilizer for whatever is there.
Yeah,
good or bad.
I would agree. Yep.
So let's. You want to just touch on that for a little bit? We've got some time.
Well, EMFs are electromagnetic frequencies. There's natural ones and there's unnatural ones. So sunlight is a natural group of electromagnetic frequencies. We generally say the natural ones are healthy, and the man-made ones, the non-native ones, are the unhealthy ones. So
right. These things.
Yeah, and the reason that they tend to be more unhealthy are because they're chaotic. So the waves of natural ones look like waves in nature, and the ones from the the man-made ones are very this, chopped up. So they're chaotic. They're just things that your cells have never seen. So your cells, and the studies they do to prove safety are pretty bad, and pretty weak, and highly conflicted with conflicts of interest. So, but plenty of studies have shown a lot of harm from even low levels of these things. And then it also, the way we do science is, we kind of want to say, let's measure like a whole group of people. And it's but it doesn't affect all those people the same.
Right.
So the mold compromised patient is much more sensitive to EMFs and problems like that. The Lyme patient is much more sensitive to EMFs. The patient with parasites or, cancer, those kind of things. They're just, their body doesn't have all the resources online, and so any little stress that we add is monumentally larger than if you put a healthy person in an EMF field. They probably do all right for a little while.
Right.
So, this is becoming a lot more of a buzzword too. And then our initial thought is, well, let's block it. Let's buy expensive technology that's going to work differently, that's going to throw off a different wavelength or that kind of thing. Where I've kind of landed these days is you actually can't outrun this stuff, unfortunately. It's pretty much everywhere on the planet. We've got satellites all over the world pointing they want to bring the whole world into perfect communication, and they're doing that with these non-native EMFs. So if we can't get away from it, we're going to have to learn how to live with it.
Right.
And but there's certain things we can do. And first thing is just learning about it, but it really can't be blocked. You can build a Faraday cage, which is you can lead line your house, or
What about the hats from Mel Gibson's movie? What was that movie that he did?
I don't think the
aliens?
hats work.
They don't work?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Have you tried them?
No.
I was thinking about trying them.
I would say give it a shot. I built lead boxes years ago around our Wi-Fi router. At first I built switches to shut the whole house off electrically at night. The problem is like so many things are connected to your Wi-Fi router and then they can't reconnect and talk, and it just creates a technology nightmare in your house.
Rebooting everything back up.
Yeah.
We got a guy, by the way, he's going to be on the podcast. His name's Chris Hoffmeyer, and he's probably one of the top 4 people in the country, and he lives here.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we'll have solutions for that for people.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I don't have all the answers in this. I've gone down rabbit holes, and I've spent lots of money and time and energy finding out things that don't work.
Half the time, that's what we're doing. What's not going to work?
Yeah. And then we've also found some things that do seem to work. But some of the easiest things that somebody could do for this is, you don't want to sleep on the other side of the wall from your electrical panel.
I literally just came from a client this morning, and we talked about that exact
and this is something
scenario.
On the environmental side that you can see these things because you'll walk through the space and you're just making a mental note of where that's at.
Yeah.
And that's an easy enough thing to do is just move your bed to the other side of the room, or just just don't put your head 3 feet away from that thing.
Distance is a big deal with that
it's
stuff.
huge.
Yeah.
So ceiling fans throw off a big electromagnetic field. So maybe some people like the fan at night when they sleep, but you're putting yourself potentially in a big old low field, but it is a big field that's thrown out by a ceiling fan. So
and that's the controversy, because it's like, how do we find a balance between these things? What's the worst thing, right?
Right.
And we, on our side, from a moisture standpoint, we're like, hey, you need movement. You need to create movement in your house.
Right.
So, like, what's worse? Is it the EMFs that it's putting out? And again, if you get the right people in every industry, almost like the specialist that comes into the house, where, we'll do like EMF at a low level.
Yeah.
But once we get into solutions for people, like as an example, I don't do the remediation, so there's no conflict of interest. But the EMF guy that's going to come in there and give them specifics, he'll be able to measure exactly what the effects and the distance.
Right.
And then I'll be like, hey, they got moisture problems in here, or whatever the case is. And then the doctors, if you will,
maybe they can come to an agreement.
We come to an agreement.
Run it all day, but turn it off when they sleep under it.
Exactly. So those kind of things, that's where we really get into like how many different effects.
And it's an art.
That's where the art comes in. Exactly.
Other easy things you can do is smart meters. You can have them removed. That's pretty easy. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but what else? You can wire your computers. Instead of doing Wi-Fi. That's a huge thing.
Tell me what that looks like on your end, and say, okay, when they're subject to that, how does that present itself, and how do you diagnose that?
So a lot of times that particular one, when we're suspecting electromagnetic frequency issues, is going to be because we fixed usually those allergy or sensitivity related meridians, and they came back with it, and we fixed it 2 or 3 times, and then we're like, we got to figure out root cause.
What's the constant? Yeah.
So, and then, so we'll actually kind of muscle test and find the particular thing. Sometimes bring them over into the environment. Sometimes it's high voltage. Sometimes it's Wi-Fi. Sometimes it's 5G. Sometimes it's just the 60 hertz alternating current. It's usually one of those things. Sometimes it's blue light. So whatever the thing is that the body's sensitive to or reacting to, then we would want to turn the sensitivity down, but also potentially stop exposing yourself to large doses of it.
Right. Let's talk about the importance of hydration.
Oh, yeah, love it.
We only have a few minutes, so let's talk about hydration.
Right?
It's a small subject.
Well, I mean, I think it's not controversial that water's important, right? Like, you need it to live. Most of us probably don't drink enough water. We just physical quantity of the stuff that runs out of your tap. And then we get into issues of quality, cleanliness, contaminants, sourcing. But the body, there's a great book called The Fourth Phase of Water. And he talks about, because we all know water as a gas, liquid, and a solid. But he says there's a fourth phase that water behaves in when it's kind of in single or just a couple layers that completely changes the behavior of the water. So we talked about those Mickey Mouse particles, and we talked about them clumping.
Right.
Okay, so we'll get into that in a second. But when all the positives lay one way and all the negatives lay one way in a big line, now we've got a charge generator, right? And that's really probably what is generating this life force that we think we're measuring with the muscle testing, what the acupuncturist is working with, what's generating partially what's generating the action potential of the neuron is this fourth phase of water, this liquid, and it's kind of like a plasma. So,
wow.
So the more of the water so first we got to get the water in our body, then we got to get it into the cell, and then we've got to get it structured in the right way so that it can do not just the job of, we're not just a sack of water, cytoplasm that, know, that where chemicals float around, and it's more complicated than that. So we've got to get the water structured or organized so that it can work like a battery. And
that's the best way to put it, I think, is that whole battery analogy. Because like your car battery, you got to have water in those cells. Right. And then you get that exchange of, so positive and
first
negative.
thing to me is getting contaminants out.
Number one. Yeah.
Like, we get our water Hendersonville from the old Hickory. And I think there used to be a DuPont plant on that. The water is brown, we swim in it, and but it's not clean water.
It's not as good as the Cumberland.
And they, and they, the sewage is treated and then put back into the lake. So
awesome.
Right. So, and it's, theoretically okay when they do that, but, so that gets all the medications that everyone takes, goes, it's not being treated for that. There's estrogen in the water. Then we add chlorine because we don't want the bacteria. That's probably a good thing that they treat it with that, but you do need to remove that before you drink it. I mean, I don't want the bacteria, so I like that they killed it.
Right.
They might be able to kill it a better way, like UV or something like that.
Yeah, we have a place where we do UV for bacteria specifically.
I think that'd be a better way, but I don't know what
if it can keep up
economic. You got to have enough UV to kill it all. So
correct.
So that's probably better done on a house level. But chlorine's pretty easy to take out. Then we put fluoride in it. That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole other podcast.
So we won't go there, but fluoride is really hard to take out. So, and there's different strategies to do that. You're probably better on these than me, but the two main ones are kind of RO or like a really good filtration, like a bone char is kind of the one thing that I've researched. It does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah, and then there's charcoal filtration, and it, depending on your micron level, as long as it doesn't mess with your flow rate, as long as your micron level can get out to a certain standard. Okay. Microplastics come into play with that. Yep. That's a big thing now that's like raising up awareness. I mean, we've got houses that are full of PEX lines now, and we don't have enough studies on how that's deteriorating depending on the quality of the water. Sure. So if that water has any of these other issues that can break that down. Yep. So that comes into play with it. We've always known that like galvanized, pipes rust and we get, higher turbidity and all those other elements that come into play that are not good. Or the lead that they used to have back in the day. But Now it's all the microplastics and it's all these other contaminants.
And those are estrogenic. And so, and we've got a kind of an effeminizing of the masculine. So there's, problems with that, that we're seeing. I mean, HRT, hormone replacement therapy, is huge right now. It's a huge business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people need that, or need something, they're not doing good on their hormone levels, or they're way estrogen dominant, or those kind of things.
Right.
So,
right.
And microplastics play into that. The estrogen that's in the water from basically from the birth control, and the hormone replacement therapy that goes down the toilet and back out into the lake.
That's why the fish populations are less.
I don't know.
But, I'm just kidding.
I'm getting a Alex Jones quote that I won't say it. You won't have to edit it.
We'll have to edit that.
So water's huge. And then once we get the stuff out of it, then we got to think about kind of other things that we could do with water. So that's, we kind of talked about covalent bonding and particle clumping. I just touched on that for a second, but so there's potentially different technologies you can do to make water more hydrating.
Right.
Water that comes from the earth has a natural negative charge, and water that comes from your tap has not an unnatural positive charge, let's say. So the negative charge is actually antioxidant, it's energy giving, it's recharging to your body, recharging to your electrical system, it's feeding your energy system. The water that comes from your tap is robbing you of energy. Both of them are pretty small inputs, but not insignificant, and especially
over time,
especially if you're at the margin, kind of like that patient that's at the margin. So perfectly healthy patient, they can probably drink tap water for years and be fine. Mold compromised patient, probably not.
Right.
That might be one of the ways we get them to finally get to the health that they're looking for.
I could go all afternoon.
Right.
This is fascinating. Like I love this stuff. One of the most brilliant people I know here, and I'd like to at least promote a couple of things and say, because we're out of time here, but if you could shine your book up there,
sure.
The Power to Heal, look it up, get it. There's a wealth of, you thought like this was a wealth of knowledge, so there's even more in there. So check out his book here, and then he also has a protein powder that you're doing, New Wave Essentials.
We built this a few years ago. We've got a couple other products they'll be built in the next year or two. It just takes time and money,
Yeah.
But we did spend a lot of time and money putting this together. It tastes awesome and helps us stay low carb and kind of hit your protein goals, your nutritional goals, super easily digestible. And you can get that on our website, is I think the only place now, or in office.
What is that website?
Stressandpainrelief.clinic. There'll be a product place, and I think that's one of the only products in there.
I tell you what, we're going to have to bring you back.
Cool.
At some point, because this is like 2 episodes are not enough for Bruce Lee.
Hey, we'll come back and see if there's anything else that we could throw at you. So, I try to give patients this stuff, but you can imagine that I've also got to fix them and work on them at the same time.
Right.
And so not all of this can get communicated, but our goal is to get a lot of this stuff in media that a patient could just go watch a video on mitochondria, or go to a section and watch 20 videos on mitochondria. And then that'll lead them to, well, how does the water affect my mitochondria? And then so they can go down rabbit holes as it interests them, kind of like a child is, we can just go learn. And when you're the most interested in something is when you'll remember it the first time you read it.
Absolutely.
Or, you're on the right track, you're on the right path when it's like, I needed that information right now, and there it is, perfect. So we're trying to build a bank of that stuff.
Fantastic.
And that'll be hosted on a website called uncommonsense.health. It's just in progress now if you pull it up, but hopefully in a month or two we'll have some stuff up there, and then we're going to keep adding content to that over, hopefully, as long as we can keep adding
content. Sign me up for that too. Uncommonsense.health.
Yeah.
Look it up. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, it's been a blast. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, just like I want to keep doing this. Cool. All right. you guys stay healthy out there and find that balance between the house and the body. All right. Let us help you out with it. Thanks.